Welcome back to another exciting episode of Writing Linear Equations. Today we're going to be filling out the note sheet. So you're going to need the note sheet, you're going to need a pair of scissors, and you're also going to need a writing utensil. First thing you need to do with your note sheet is you need to fold it in half along this solid line right down the middle. After you fold it in half, you need to go ahead and cut along the dotted lines. Make sure that you only cut the top layer and not the bottom layer. Once you have it cut out, we're ready to go. The first section we're going to work on today is going to be a word problem that gives us the slope and the y-intercept, and we're going to use that to write an equation and then use the equation to solve for our answers. Our problem for our first section today says, a plumber charges $50 for a house visit. He charges an additional $25 per hour for labor. So A says, write a linear equation to model the amount Y paid after X hours. I like these labels in here because it tells us that the amount is the Y, and so that means our dollars is going to be a Y value, and then the X is representing the number of hours that he's worked. So if we take a look at our problem up above here, it says that the plumber charges $50 for a house visit. That means there's a flat fee of $50 just for him showing up at your doorstep, and you only have to pay that one time. That means that our B value, our initial value, is going to be 50 for this problem. It also tells us that he charges an additional $25 per hour. That means for every single hour that he's working at your house, you're going to have to pay another $25. So that one is going to be our slope, and that gives us our B and our M. Remember, we're trying to fill out this equation, y equals mx plus b, where we have to have a number filled in for M and a number filled in for B. Here, since we already know M and we already know B, we can just fill them in and write our equation as y equals 25x plus 50. So that's going to be our answer for A over here. Now in parts B and C, we need to use this equation and apply it. So in B, it tells us, or it asks us, how much would the plumber charge for a job that takes 2.5 hours? When I look back in A, I remember that Y was representing the amount paid, so that has to be a dollar amount, and X was representing the number of hours. So that means here that this 2.5 that I want to know has to be an X value. So in order to solve for B, I'm going to use the same equation, but I'm going to fill in 2.5 for the X value, and then I'll just go ahead and solve this. Once I've solved it here, I get this answer of 112.5, which means that for a 2.5 hour job, you're going to have to pay a total of $112.50. Letter C asks, how long did the plumber work if he charged $162.50? So now we're working the other way. Now we know the final charge, but we need to know the number of hours. That means in this problem, we know a Y value, but we don't know the X. So we're going to use the same equation, but now we're going to go ahead and fill in 162.5 for the Y value. We're going to leave an X because that's what we don't know. And now we're just going to solve for X. So here we ended up with an answer of X equals 4.5, which means that the plumber worked for 4.5 hours. The second word problem that we're going to work with today gives us the slope and a point within a word problem, and then again we'll write an equation and use that to solve. This problem here says Michael takes the city bus. The bus has a boarding fee and then charges an additional 25 cents per mile. After traveling 3 miles, Michael pays $2.25. So again, we're trying to write the equation so it matches y equals mx plus b, where we need to know an m and we need to know a b. Now when I look at this, it says that the bus has a boarding fee. That would be a one-time fee, but I also notice that it doesn't tell me what the boarding fee is. So right now, I don't know what the b value is, so we're going to have to end up solving for that. We do know that we have a 25 cents per mile fee. That means for every mile you're paying 25 cents. So that's going to be our slope here. So I know that my slope is 0.25 or 25 cents. The other thing that I know is that after traveling 3 miles, Michael pays $2.25. So right here, this is actually one point that I'm given, 3 miles and 225. If I look down here, I can double check if I want to check which one needs to be X and which one's Y. So the amount paid is Y, so that has to be the dollar amount after traveling X miles. So the miles has to be the X value. That means that I know the point 3 to 25. Now I can use this slope and this point to plug them into our equation and solve for B so that I can write my equation for A. That means I would have 2.25 as the Y value. That's equal to the M of 0.25 times the 3, and I don't know B, so I still have a plus B. Now I'll go ahead and solve this. Multiply these two together, that's 0.75. And then we'll subtract 0.75 to the other side. That means that B is going to equal $1.50. So, if B equals $1.50, I knew the M to start with. Now I just write my equation as Y equals 0.25x plus 150. That'll go over here. Now for part B, it says, what is the initial fee that is charged by the bus company? Now in this one, it might seem like we have something that we need to solve for, but we actually had to solve for it in order to write this equation here. This amount was how much we were paying per mile. This was the boarding fee, or the initial fee right here. So by writing the equation, we've actually already solved for B and found that the initial fee is $1.50. The last problem we're going to solve today doesn't give us the slope or the y-intercept. It only gives us 2 points. We need to pick out the 2 points and then go ahead and go through our process to solve for the equation. This problem here says, a paper airplane is thrown from the top of a building. After 3 seconds, it is 49 feet above the ground. After 5 seconds, it is 25 feet above the ground. A says, write a linear equation that represents the height y compared to the time x that the plane has been in the air. So these labels are important. Our height values, so feet in this case, are going to be the y's, and the time, so seconds in this case, are going to be the x's. Now I know that I need to have an m and I need to have a b before I can write my equation, but right now I don't know either of those. Instead, I'm told that after 3 seconds it's 49 feet, and after 5 seconds it's 25 feet. So I'm actually given these 2 points of 3, 49, and then the point 5, 25. I can use these points to write out my slope, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Doesn't matter which point we create as the first point and the second point, but I'm going to use this as my first point and just label it as x1 and y1, and that makes this x2 and y2. Now I'm just going to plug them into this format here. So 25 minus 49 divided by the x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 3. 25 minus 49 is negative 24, and 5 minus 3 is 2. When I simplify this, negative 24 divided by 2 is equal to a negative 12. So that means that the slope is going to be negative 12. Now once I've done that, I can go back and pick either one of these points to go ahead and solve for the b value. I'm going to go ahead and choose this point here, and I'm putting into the equation y equals mx plus b. The y value is the 49. The m I just solved for over here was negative 12. And now the x has to come from the same point, so that's 3, and I don't know the b, which in this case would be how high the airplane was when it was first thrown. So now I'll go ahead and solve this. 12 times a negative, or negative 12 times 3, it's going to be negative 36. Now we'll add 36 to both sides. That means that b equals 85. And so now we can write our final equation as y equals negative 12x plus 85. In this equation, it just means that the airplane is going down 12 feet for every second, and it started at a height of 85 feet.